Coming up on State of Events, find out what Bernie Sanders canceling his campaign means for voters.
And how San Francisco State's president will handle the campus closure during COVID-19 with answers to your questions.
State of Events starts now.
Welcome to State of Events. I'm Eddie Wehan.
And I am Leslie Santibáñez.
This is our second show as our team is remotely working from home, bringing you the latest updates on top stories happening locally, nationwide, and across the world.
It is our responsibility to keep the public informed, so let's get right into our top stories. School closures due to the COVID-19 pandemic has left San Francisco State students with many questions. State of Events reporter Bronte Sorotsky was able to talk with President Lynn Mahoney and answer your questions. We now go to that interview.
There's no doubt that the recent COVID-19 pandemic has put a strain on students' lives. With everything changing so quickly, the students at San Francisco State are left with many questions going unanswered. I talked with President Lynn Mahoney to gain a better understanding of the school's response to the virus. Hi, President Mahoney. Thanks so much for interviewing with me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really thrilled that you've given me an opportunity to get to speak with you and to speak with other students.
What are the current plans for graduating seniors and graduation?
So we sent out a survey to graduating seniors this year to find out how they would like to be celebrated. I have not seen the detailed results yet, but as I understand it, students would like some combination of a virtual recognition this spring and a face-to-face commencement whenever we're allowed to do it in the future. So I have a work group working on a proposal for what that would look like, and it includes 3 graduating students, and I should have a proposal from them in about a week or 10 days. And then we'll get back in touch with our graduating students and share with them how we're going to celebrate them.
Next, I want to ask more about refunds for students who are in student housing who paid for the entire year or who have dining credits that they've paid for. Will that be reimbursed now that they aren't living there anymore?
Yes, and in fact, we've already started the process of reimbursing for housing, dining, and parking.
Is it looking like full reimbursements or partial?
Partial, so it's prorated because students were here through differing dates in March. Some left very quickly when we announced this on March the 9th. Others waited and didn't leave till spring break, so it's on a prorated basis.
Were students forced to leave?
No, we have about 400 students still in student housing. So students who had no other place to go, so international students who couldn't travel, some of our students, this is their primary address. So if students had no place else to go, we allowed them to remain. Rest halls are not easy places to physically distance. Many of our residents are 2 to a bedroom, and many of them share baths with multiple people, bathrooms. It is not the best place to physically distance. So as we put students' health first and foremost, we urge them to return to their homes. And at this point, about 3,600 have.
For students who are studying abroad, are they being refunded or are they still able to get their academic credit?
For some of the students who have returned home from our own students who have returned home from study abroad, faculty are helping them complete their assigned units through independent studies and remote learning. There is a way to get reimbursed for some of the expenses of having returned home. You know, the first students who came home were the students from China. That was back in January. So we got them enrolled here. Then it was, I think Italy was the second wave. And then it was everybody.
I'm just curious, also as a Becca major, a lot of our classes are in a studio or a place where we have access to equipment that we don't have. So is the school aware of classes like this where students don't really have the resources that they used to have?
Absolutely. And in those instances, I'm hopeful that the faculty, again, is reinventing what it's doing. Is it different than what you expected to get? Absolutely. You're not getting the same experience. We know that. And that's hard, and it is worthy of feeling sad and angry. What we're hopeful for, though, is that students and faculty will continue to be creative and rethink what you're learning.
I'm wondering if you've started planning for fall semester yet, and if you know, or if you have an idea of what that is going to look like.
So right now we have moved instruction remotely through the summer. We're under stay-at-home orders till the beginning of May. The governor keeps hinting that's probably going to last through mid-May or maybe late May. So we are, like everyone else, taking this 1 week, 1 month at a time. We have had no discussions and this will be true for the whole CSU, not just San Francisco State, about fall yet, but we're starting those conversations. We will continue to follow the guidelines of the state and the city.
What are you doing as president to ensure that the concerns of students are being heard?
A couple of things. I meet regularly with the Associated Students executive team, the leader, the board. I also spend a lot of time listening to the people who are working closely with students. I ask the assistant vice president for equity and community inclusion, what are you hearing from students? What are their needs? But then I also troll social media to find out what you're all saying to each other. And so, for example, one of the places I saw that I learned a lot about what you were thinking about commencement was a Reddit thread that Associated Students showed me where it was so that I could read that. So I keep an eye on the responses to our Instagram posts. And then I'm happy to say that I'd say with some fair regularity, students just email me directly.
Thank you so much for taking the time to interview with me. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Bye.
Hey Gators, there are still resources available to you during these hardships. San Francisco State University is here to help you out. Gator Groceries is available to you every week on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Times do vary, so get your groceries while supplies last. It is based on a first come, first served basis. Follow up with Associated Students and SF State Cares on Instagram for new updates on their distributions. Simply search at AS_SF State and at SF State Cares for all the latest information. There are also meal cards available for City Eats at the Dean On Call's office located at the Student Services Building. If you need basic hygiene supplies, visit room 403 in the Student Services Building Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Lastly, if you need access to a nice warm shower, the Mashoof Wellness Center is opening up their locker rooms Mondays and Fridays from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. All you need to do is bring your student ID card, check in with a staff member at the front desk. Towels and locks will be available upon request, but they must be returned when exiting. San Francisco police cited Ronald Konopasky outside of Planned Parenthood near Bernal Heights for violating the public health order. Prior to the citation, a spokesperson at SFPD, Officer Robert Ruka, said, "We and other city departments are focused on continuing to educate the public about the importance of social distancing in order to slow the transmission of COVID-19. As Chief Scott has stated, we want people to use common sense and to think about how their actions can put others at risk. Officers walking the beat and in vehicles will continue to remind people about these health measures. As we've repeatedly emphasized, enforcement is a last resort. Voluntary compliance is our goal, and most people in the city seem to be responding." The shelter-in-place order issued last month directs all individuals living in the country to continue sheltering at home except for their essential needs like food and medicine. At a Friday news conference, Scott said officers would start citing people and businesses who violated the shelter-in-place order. Konopasky, who has reportedly engaged in anti-abortion protests for at least a decade, told the SF Examiner that the order violated his constitutional rights to free speech and religion. "The people who are opposing my being there are just using the order as a tool to engage the police to do their dirty work to get rid of me," Konopasky said. "I'm 86 years old and I know how to take care of my health. I'm following the order of this health thing, even though I think that is a gross overkill or overreach." Konopasky is due in court later this month. The fine he is expected to pay will be determined by the judge.
With the stimulus check arriving in people's bank accounts, teachers in San Francisco are taking a pledge to give out a portion of the check to undocumented immigrants left out of federal aid. According to the San Francisco Chronicle, United Educators of San Francisco have received a total of 300 pledges. This amounts to $100,000 in federal aid that will be going to undocumented immigrants and their families.
Gators, please remember that Muni is temporarily suspending their lines to prioritize routes and most crucial need during the pandemic. As of April 8th, the service has further reduced and only 17 lines will be operating. A full list of those lines are at sfmta.com. So if you're living on campus and looking to get around Ingleside, Park Merced, Stonestown, West Portal, Lake Merced, and Daly City BART, you won't be able to. Although there are other methods of transportation such as Uber and Lyft, Uber is telling its users on the app to stay home and shelter in place if you can.
For those of you that filed your 2018 or 2019 taxes independently, get ready to receive your stimulus check through direct deposit this week. Most Americans will see the money in their bank account by April 14th through the 17th.
Bernie Sanders is suspending his 2020 presidential campaign. Reporter Madison McKay talks to an SF State Bernie campaign leader who shares their side of the story.
The main difference in the 2016 and 2020 presidential election for Bernie Sanders was that in 2020, he thought he could win this thing. I asked two local experts, USF political science professor James Taylor and KTVU Fox 2 News political correspondent Greg Lee, if they thought the no vote equals a vote was the right thing for Bernie supporters to do following his suspension.
Shaun King from the Black Lives Matter movement and Bernie Sanders' own press secretary came out both very critically and respectfully supported Bernie and what he represents and his humanity, actually, they verbalized, but they simply said they couldn't reconcile with Joe Biden's policy positions unless he made some serious concessions.
I asked James what he thought Bernie did wrong in his campaign.
And yet they are supporting Biden even over Bernie, whose policy positions are the same policy positions as Martin Luther King's, as the civil rights movements, as the New Deal coalition, as the as FDR and the Great Society and LBJ. Those are Bernie's politics. Bernie is more conservative than Martin Luther King and FDR.
Finally, I asked Greg how his political reporting has changed amidst COVID-19 and how his campaign coverage has shifted.
Honestly, I don't know that it has changed much, and maybe, if anything, that it's become more important. Obviously, my workflow has changed because I'm in my house all day and we're doing interviews via Zoom, and we very rarely go out in the field for safety reasons and for our own health. But I had a conversation with my boss today in that everything is political. Conversations about unemployment, conversations about reopening the economy and having governors say one thing and the president say another. There are political strains to all of that because at the end of the day, elected officials are the ones that are making these decisions for lockdowns, for quarantines, for shelter at home orders. These are all things that are decided by the people that you voted into office. So in that sense, I think it's taken a little bit more creativity.
For young voters, Bernie Sanders was a force to be reckoned with, but many have taken to social media to show their disappointment with his suspension. Will you still vote? Go to stateofevents.net and let us know in the comments section. In South San Francisco, I'm Madison McKay.
Coming up on State of Events, we hear what it's like living in New York during this pandemic.
And how the influx of online shopping is increasing mail theft.
They say this is garbage, useless, out of style. They say that this is obsolete, half forgotten, twice replaced, and then some. You are the re-originator, an innovator, the treasure hunter, master of uncharted territories and pioneered ideas. a voyager. No doubts to break outside the boundaries. You have no boundaries. You have the power to shatter the mold. You. To reshape the rule. A new class. New norm. There is no norm. You're the breath of a new revolution. And they say that this is secondhand.
After the COVID-19 health order mandated by San Francisco Mayor London Breed, Governor Gavin Newsom, and public health officials, many California residents have been furloughed. Many Park Merced residents are worried about eviction from their homes due to the loss of their income. Park Merced released a newsletter to its residents saying they have assembled a special assistance task force of senior staff to address questions, understand the situation, and collaborate on solutions. Park Merced assistance can be contacted at assistance@parkmerced.com.
In San Francisco, 70 out of roughly 100 people in the largest homeless shelter have tested positive for the COVID-19 virus. About 68 of them are homeless, and 2 are multi-service South Center staff members. Advocates with the Coalition on Homelessness are upset about the coronavirus outbreak in the city's homeless population. City officials are moving healthy homeless people into hotels for now, while the rest remain quarantined in the center. Mayor London Breed put a cap of 15% on food delivery app commissions. Usually restaurants that work with food delivery applications pay a 30% commission, but due to the lack of dine-in options, the amount of commission paid has been reduced.
Since the shelter-in-place order, Adobe Analytics says America's online shopping for basic needs has increased by 200%. However, receiving those products among other mail has become difficult for residency in the East Bay. Sophia Silver reports.
During this pandemic of COVID-19, where most of the nation is shelter in place, an event has occurred in an East Bay community that could jeopardize the health of 150 homeowners. These residents are in a Castro Valley neighborhood who have been experiencing mail theft on their street, and the Homeowners Association have instructed that mail should be picked up at the post office.
On February 7th, because we have the informed delivery daily digest, we knew we were expecting our mail-in ballots for the upcoming election. And that was something I was looking forward to getting so we could get that out of the way. Didn't get mail that day, but on the next day, February 8th, we found that mail from the 7th was not in the mailbox, and we reported it missing. At the time, we had no reason to believe it was stolen because there was no evidence that the mailboxes had been broken into.
And just around the corner, I've come to a different street in the same neighborhood where the residents here are still getting their mail delivered to their homes by the post office. Delivering mail on this street actually takes more time as these boxes are non-communal.
We could have our mail forwarded to another address outside of the neighborhood, and we could pick it up from one individual rather than standing in line with several individuals at the post office.
Packages are still being delivered on Chris's street, but trips out are required for all other mail. And this is the case for the next 3 weeks until the locks have been replaced. Enough anxiety has risen from COVID-19, and now this community has to deal with an added stress. In Castro Valley, I'm Sophia Silver, State of Events.
New York is the biggest epicenter of coronavirus in the nation. Living in New York means having a higher risk of becoming infected with COVID-19. So how are people dealing with the situation? Our reporter Sandy Luke has a story.
Have you heard the saying, New York is always a good idea? Or the famous lyrics from Sinatra, I want to wake up in a city that never sleeps, New York, New York. The famous New York City, it is indeed never sleeping. New York has become the epicenter of the novel COVID-19 in the nation.
The coronavirus situation has affected millions and millions of people around the world. But how is it affecting the people of New York?
We're running out of supplies. So we have to go to Costco, BJ's, the supermarket, Target, CVS. These are places that have supplies for us to like maintain ourselves for the couple of weeks that we have in quarantine.
And how is this affecting you financially, like you and your family?
Financially, me, I feel like I've been saving money. I'm not spending how I used to spend. I'm guessing that people that used to spend a lot of money before thinks about it twice, like, hey, things like that could happen. For here, toilet paper, everything is gone. Lysol, Clorox wipes, and
Yeah, how's the toilet
Purell.
paper situation?
So it's one per person. Water bottle is one per person. Now they're limiting supplies to everybody.
People like Annalise are still working but are too afraid to take public transportation. So what's the next option? How are they dealing with this situation?
I've been usually taking Uber back and forth because I'm just iffy. But even in the Uber, like the front, they have like these plastics covering the driver, so they won't get infected neither. It's pricey, and that's the thing that a lot of people are complaining about, how Uber is expensive. They should take consideration about what's going on. Yeah.
How much do you spend to take Uber to work?
Almost like $200.
A week?
Depending. Yeah. Because it's back and forth.
According to the New York Times, at least 7,844 people have died in the state.
My friend's father passed away from church.
When was that?
It's like 2 weeks ago. He passed away in the hospital. They're not doing any like funerals. They're only doing cremation around here. So it's sad, like, you can't say goodbye to your loved ones. Nobody's allowed to go to the hospital at all. Having your family members or your friends or your colleague or whoever you was close to, like, I don't think this is just fake. This is just reality, no matter how we space it or not, how much we believe it or not. So but it doesn't feel like New York. It just feels like a nightmare. It feels like a movie. It feels like more like I Am Legend type.
In Los Angeles, I am Sandy Luke, State of Events.
Coming up on State of Events, find out what officials in Riverside are doing to make people obey health orders.
And how supermarket workers feel working in such hazardous environments.
When it's time to choose healthcare for your teen, you want the best. When it's time for your teen's questions to be answered, you want a professional you can trust. At Valencia Health Services, your time is well spent. We provide professional, quality healthcare. Valencia Health Services, dedicating quality time to professional healthcare because your teen's health is our first priority. Valencia Health Services, quality time because we care.
Los Angeles County is following in San Francisco's footsteps. LA County is extending their shelter-in-place order until May 15 due to the recent surge in COVID-19 cases this past week in LA. Residents must wear face masks anytime they are outside starting April 15. People who don't comply may face citations. In Riverside County, officials have revealed a brand new application to fight against COVID-19 violations. The app, Rivco Mobile, can be used to make anonymous reports on people or on non-essential businesses that are not complying with health orders.
Apple Maps will soon display testing sites directly on the map. Apple has launched a portal for hospitals, healthcare providers, and businesses to register as a COVID-19 testing or whether a doctor's note is required. Apple and Google announced a significant partnership to build contact tracing APIs into the iOS and Android operating system. These new systems will help track the spread of COVID-19 using healthcare provider apps, and the companies believe the first version of the API will be available in May.
While we are able to broadcast state events from our homes, essential workers do not have that option. Reporter Natasha Casino gets insight on what grocery store employees are facing on a daily basis.
During this nationwide shelter-in-place order, many people have the option to work from home. But for many others, this is not possible.
As a grocery store worker, what is the greatest challenge you feel like you're facing right now?
Well, there's a number of them, really. One is a sudden surge in customers, which doesn't happen that often. I mean, it happens on holidays and such, but to have it nearly every single day and having stuff run out every single day, I have to tell people, sorry, we're out, and the look on their faces. That's one major challenge.
I think transportation, definitely, since transportation all over the city, like so many workers and coworkers, me including, rely on it. So I think that kind of sucks. It's not really catering to the essential workers. All the essential workers, obviously, most of us don't have a car. So I think that, but also like, I think some customers have also been like not, like they take it out on us that they have to wait long lines outside, like older customers specifically, like thinking that I'm like, I'm already pretty stressed about this. I don't need you getting mad at me for doing my job and trying to keep all of us safe.
There is just not a stock of anything really, like paper towels, toilet paper, cleaning supplies. Do you think people are still panic buying?
It's definitely decreased, but panic buys are still happening to toilet paper, paper towels, and probably hand sanitizer.
I think so. Even with a limit on them, I still see it, because now we only limit to one package of paper towels a person, one package of toilet paper a person, a certain number of cleaning products. Yet despite that, let me explain. Our store is usually a 24-hour store, but due to such high demand of all products, we figured it would be best to close our store at 9, so that way our crew at night can stock everything and make sure we have a full shelf in the morning when we open at 7. 6 days out of 7, at 7 a.m., you'll see a line from the door around the parking lot, because those people know that their best chance of getting those products is to come right when we open.
Wow.
So people are willing to get up at the crack of dawn just to get toilet paper, just to get paper towels, or just to know that they'll be able to get it.
What would you like the community to know or understand?
Just us as essential workers, we're doing the best we can. So it's best to just be patient, be appreciative, and just stay safe.
Now all I can ask the nation is to just be calm and kind with one another, and to not necessarily like turn on each other right now, and to not point fingers, to not, to not be racist, please. And I feel like this quarantine, if anything, the shelter in place, this virus is making us realize, if not now, when?
As the nation continues to fight the COVID-19 pandemic, we are very grateful for all the workers on the front line who go out every day risking their health to keep us safe. Reporting from home, I'm Natasha Casino for State of Events.
The Coachella Valley Music and Arts Festival is celebrating their 20th anniversary. The same day the festival's gates would have swung open for thousands of music fans for its first weekend, now it's happening online. The YouTube Originals documentary Coachella, 20 Years in the Desert, gives fans an intimate look at the world-renowned music festival right from their homes. You will not need a shuttle pass or wristbands needed because everyone has a complimentary access to the VIP experience. recalling Coachella's most memorable moments from 1999 to 2019, and backstage stories that have never been told before. Viewers can relive or experience for the first time past performances by Billie Eilish, Beyoncé, Kanye West, Daft Punk, Madonna, Travis Scott, Blackpink, LCD, Sound System, Rage Against the Machine, and more. Well, that's all the news we have for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Eddie Wehan.
And I am Leslie Santibáñez.
And don't forget to follow up on stateofevents.net or follow us on Instagram.